Let's expand on the example that we had of purchasing the vehicle, that $10,000 car, with cash. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that you sell it before the thing has become fully depreciated. The big point here is that we're going to sell the car for something other than its book value. You have to remember that what you're doing with depreciation is you're formulaically deciding how it's losing value over time, and when you make a transaction you find out how much it's actually worth, and it's an absolute miracle if the book value of the vehicle is exactly the same as the sales price. So what we're doing is we're starting with that $10,000 car, which you have right there, that we started with before. That's our cost basis. We're dealing with the minimum acceptable rate of return of 5%, but it's almost irrelevant right now. We're dealing with a 35% federal tax rate, a 7.7% state tax rate, and just to go ahead and give the recollection, if you're looking for that combined tax rate, what you're doing is you're adding up the state and federal rate, and then you're subtracting off the difference between those two. So let's take a look over here at what we have lined up as that cash flow that's just the car, and you can think of this as what it looks like from a personal finance basis. There's your $10,000 going out the door because you're purchasing the vehicle. And what we've done is said that we're going to sell this car for about $5,000 in the 4th year that you own it. Now look and see what happens with the depreciation. Remember that depreciation is always just going to be the cost basis of the car, that $10,000, times the number that's in that modified accelerated cost recovery system table. So in this case what we're doing is we're just seeing that the depreciation the first year is just $10,000 times that 0.2 that's right there, because you get 20% of the cost basis as depreciation the first year. You get 32% the second year, and that's why we have $3,200 worth of depreciation in the second year. So you follow the pattern in the table until you get down to the year of sale. And what happens there with the early sale is you get half of the depreciation that year. And we mean that quite literally. You just cut it in two. You don't do anything fancier than that. So looking at just the depreciation component, what we have here in this column for tax savings, what is the reduction in taxes because of the depreciation? And so what we're doing here is just taking the depreciation, which is $2,000, times that combined tax rate that we calculated before, and that's how much your taxes are going to be lower by because of depreciation. We're doing it for each one of these items down here. And the after-tax cash flows, again, just as we did before, all we're doing is taking the pre-tax, the column there that says car, we're adding in the tax savings. And except for adjusting the taxes that you end up with for getting depreciation wrong relative to the sales price, that's what the cash flow will look like. But here's where this depreciation recapture comes in. What we're looking at is what happens when you sell the car for something other than its book value, but for something less than what you paid for it. So we're looking at only ordinary gains and ordinary losses on sale rather than capital gains that are there. So what I'm doing with book value is I am just, if you look at the equation, starting off with its cost basis, and I'm subtracting off the depreciation in that year. So I'm starting off with the $10,000, I'm subtracting off $2,000 for the first year's depreciation, and I see that the book value after the first year is $8,000. Now in the second year what we've seen is that there's depreciation of $3,200, the book value after the second year is $4,800, and so on down the line, until you get to that year of sale where you find out that the book value is $2,304. Now note that this book value is different from the amount that we've actually sold the car for. The book value is lower. So what's been going on is that over the past couple of years we've been paying less taxes than we should have. And so when you sell the car, Uncle Sam basically says, hey, you owe us some money, go ahead and pay the taxes back. So that's what we're doing here, is we are adjusting those tax payments with this gains tax column. And all I'm doing here is I'm creating something which is the difference between the sale value of the car, $5,000, and its book value, and I'm just multiplying it by that combined tax rate. Now, for corporations, everything's going to work out just fine here. It's going to work fine for businesses. But this is essentially you paying back taxes that you should have paid before. Please note that this is a zero-interest loan, so everything works out well. Not a big deal. But look what happens to the after-tax cash flow. While if you didn't have to pay back all that depreciation, you would have had cash flow in year 4 of $5,230.43 because you have to pay back all that depreciation, or at least the tax value of the depreciation to the government. Your positive cash flow is only $4,151.89. So again, this is what happens when you sell a car for something other than its book value.